Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government.
And in the end, everyone lost money but me.
Wow, I've learned so much today about golf, life, and oil leases. I wish I had tribal land for you to build a pipeline on. I'd be honored if you'd frack under my house someday, sir.
I've never seen my son suck up before.
Easy money.
You don't kiss all the golfers' butts like that, do you?
Oh, Mom, these rich guys expect a little in exchange for some it's no big deal.
On one hand, I'm glad you're being polite. On the other hand,
Wow, I never thought of it that way, Mom. No one looks out for me the way you do. You are the shining star that guides this family through the darkness.
oh, aren't you sweet? Why don't we stop by the skateboard store on the way home and I'll buy you, suck up. Doesn't it bother you that Bart made that money sucking up to those golfers?
Mart, sucking up is the American way. In this country, everybody got together and decided that all the money should belong to a few dozen families and their favorite suck-ups. Don't you remember when we all decided that?
Oh,
And of all the things that Bart might do for money, this is by far the most legal. Other people are paying our son, and in cash. It's both above board and under the table. That's the dream.
homie, I know it's not logical, but when I saw Bart at that golf course, my mothering spirit just wanted to hurl. Back me up on this one. Tell our son he has to quit.
Quit being a caddy? No way. How much did Mom give you to tell me that?
Nothing?
Well, I can do better than that. Will $20 make this go away?
Well, I guess I can tell her I did my best.
Tell her you did your very best.
Okay, I'll tell you what's bothering me. It's Bart's county job. It's gross, right? You can tell me it's gross. Do you think it's gross?
Well, private golf clubs are pretty evil.
Right, they are. How so?
Wow, look at all these. Waste of water resources, pesticide use, history of sexism and racism.
And Bart's a suck-up.
Not to mention that private clubs get huge breaks on their property taxes, which is completely unfair. Why shouldn't rich people pay their share?
Lisa, we've got to shut down that club. We're going to City Hall. I've said a lot to you about this job, except what's deepest in my heart. Honey, the thing I've always admired most about you is that you've never needed anyone else's approval. And I'm worried you're gonna lose that.
I'm not gonna suck up forever, just until I'm rich. Then other people will suck up to me.
Promise me these golf people won't take away my special little guy, because they seem to get everything else they want.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you
Let's
know?
talk about, here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Okay, but you've never spoken to your son.
Depending on what the House finds, he could be impeached, but I'm not making that judgment now. The House should investigate it. The House should investigate. More than half the women in my cabinet are women. More than half the women in my cabinet, more than half the people in my cabinet, more than half the women in my administration are women. More than half the women in my cabinet are women.
What did you just say? If you get anybody a voting machine to make it happen? Wow. I'm not going to trust you anymore, but I am a Republican, sir. Good. And I hope that you will stand on the side of truth. I am standing on the side of truth. And winning elections, because that's what matters.
Grady County boy here, Field Cersei.
Hey, Grace, good to see you.
How you doing?
Thanks for videoing.
Yeah. We want to keep it on the record.
That's good.
We need transparency in our elections.
We got
We don't have transparency
you
now.
volunteer to be a poll worker.
We got a secret box. It's a secret box.
No, it is worth it. I assure you it is.
U.S. military to unleash thousands of war robots over the next 2 years. The scale and scope of the U.S. announcement makes it clear the future of conflict has changed. The age of war-fighting robots is upon us. Good Lord. And this is a little bit different. In fact, the original headline made a note that they were autonomous, which is a very important differentiation between something like a UAV, an unmanned aerial vehicle that's controlled by some dude in an office in Scottsdale, versus robots that think for themselves, find their own targets, and are not controlled by anybody. The United States military plans to start using thousands of autonomous weapon systems in the next 2 years in a bid to counter China's growing power. U.S. Deputy Secretary of Defense Kathleen Hicks announced in a speech on Monday the so-called Replicator Initiative. Oh, good. Oh, good. They're naming it like a James Cameron movie. Wonderful. We'll call it the Replicator Initiative. That sounds intimidating, doesn't it? They'll produce high volumes of affordable systems for all branches of the military. So just so we're clear, one of the primary and possibly the only moderately convincing argument for globalism is that it will end war. Hey, if there weren't nations, the nations wouldn't go to war. This is an important distinction, though. They're replacing what we now know as war of two countries fighting each other. It'll be replaced by a central global government that will control autonomous legions of robots that will hunt down and destroy anybody who does not join their system. That's war from now on. I don't know if it's true or not. Maybe if one of our callers has an Alexa, you can do. But if the dude asks Alexa who's going to win the 2024 election, and apparently Alexa, the Amazon AI, responds that there will not be an election in 2024 because the War Powers Act will be invoked once the hot war with China and Russia starts. It's just like, we need a board. We need like a pros and cons list from the point of view of the globalists of massive world war with China and Russia and Iran, for that matter. What is the downside for them? I mean, they're not the ones who are going to be fighting it. Their lives really won't change. The billionaires, the money managers, the politicians, they'll be good. This is why it's a requirement for all info warriors to watch Dr. Strangelove. Or more importantly, the subtitle, How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. In case you're not familiar, that whole story is about a cataclysmic doomsday device that will destroy the earth. And the people in Washington realized that if such a thing were to happen, well, all of the important politicians from Washington, D.C. would have to go into some sort of underground bunker with a bevy of fertile women to keep the human race going. And they realized maybe it wouldn't be such a bad thing to have nuclear exchange.
Take a look at this unbelievable video. We'll slow it down to show you just how bold these suspects are. The young man without a shirt goes for the uniformed Detroit police officer's gun on his right side. He gets it. Meanwhile, his accomplice in the Adidas pants pulls a gun, pointing it at the officer. There's a struggle. The officer wrestles his duty weapon, a 9mm, back from the suspect. The two run off. The officer does not shoot at them.
This is just a ridiculous crime.
Detroit Police Commander Arnold Williams says it happened Saturday evening at the BP station near the Southfield and Joy Road. There's nothing to indicate that this officer, who was off duty heading into work, was targeted targeted specifically. Investigators say it was all about getting the gun.
There's no way I can explain the mindset of someone who would do something like that, but the one thing I can explain is if they would do that to a uniformed police officer, can you imagine what they would do to a regular citizen?
Investigators have identified both suspects. They've executed 2 search warrants at their homes and are in contact with their parents. But still, as of Monday afternoon, they're not in police custody.
If it's any family members that are sheltering them or have any information, encourage them to come in. And we want them to turn themselves in because we're coming for them. We're going to find them.
Detroit Police Rewards TV is offering a $5,000 reward for information leading to an arrest in this case. And of course, you can report those tips anonymously. Jessica Dupnak, Fox 2 News.
The recent fires in California, Australia, and now Hawaii are unlike anything we've ever seen before. They are being called forest fires and wildfires, but they are clearly something very different. These fires are burning homes into a white powdery ash footprint, while often leaving the surrounding green trees and shrubs practically untouched. In extreme cases, forest fires can reach temperatures up to 1,500 degrees Fahrenheit. And the melting point of aluminum is 1,220 degrees Fahrenheit. So it is possible for an extreme forest fire to melt aluminum. But there are cars with puddles of melted aluminum that were clearly not in the wildfire area. And melted glass, which has a melting point around 2,500 degrees Fahrenheit. These are unexplained anomalies. In the California fires of 2018, cars were randomly bursting into flames on the freeway with no surrounding fires. We've seen these same anomalies in New York City on September 11th, 2001. Cars completely burned out with no explanation. In Maui, these unnatural fires spared the homes of the rich while burning the native homes of the working class. With precision, these fires destroyed the most envied, high-valued areas of Maui. For decades, directed energy weapons have been classified, but they have been on the public record for several years now. Directed energy weapons, known as DEWs, have the ability to burn homes with this sort of precision. But in order to be this precise, the area would have to be mapped out. In January of this year, green lasers were seen over Hawaii, which could best be described as a geospatial array for mapping terrain. We have seen that among the ashy ruins, there are blue-colored objects that have somehow survived the devastation. Blue cars, blue umbrellas, a blue boat, blue planters. Videos online are going viral that show how lasers can easily burn through certain colored objects, but objects that are colored blue remain unharmed. Directed energy weapons include lasers, millimeter wave, and microwave. They are all based on light frequencies, and different wavelengths of light affect colors differently. For example, in laser tattoo removal, different wavelengths are used for removing different colors. And this is because color is a quality of light. Each color has its own frequency. Interestingly enough, the frequency of the color blue is 6.66.
United Nations Agenda 21, Sustainable Development. It is the inventory and control plan. Inventory and control of all land, all water, all minerals, all plants, all animals, all construction, all means of production, all food, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. And this is a plan that was agreed to by 179 nations back in 1992. It's a United Nations plan. It's called the Agenda for the 21st Century. And so many of us around the world think that sustainable development, it just sounds so great. Isn't it about recycling and creative reuse and creating energy and food resources for everyone? And the answer is no. It really is not. It's about moving populations into city centers, concentrated city centers, and clearing them out of the rural areas. It's constructed of non-governmental organizations, corporations, and government in order to dictate and regulate what it is that happens around the world. Regionalization is the stepping stone to globalization. And globalization is the standardization of all systems. All systems have to be brought into harmony in order to control them all. And the goal of Agenda 21 is one world government and total control from a central unit. The principles are public-private partnerships, which is fascism. And this is how it's implemented on the ground, is through this joining together between corporations, non-governmental organizations, and governments in order to cut out the actual individual, your voter, and instead to take that to a level where we literally cannot penetrate. This is a corporatocracy. It's a totalitarian state being developed right now all over the world. While we are moving towards the end game, we are not there. And this is the opportunity that all of us have now to stand up, to speak out. We are free, and we need to continue to be free. And I do believe that we will win, but we have to become aware that there is a fight.
And the great thing about this is once you're aware of it, a lot of their influence crumbles away. I mean, once you are awake to what they're doing and can refuse it knowledgeably with the information required to disabuse people of their, the falsehoods that they believe in, this really is an information war, and they rely on the vast majority of the population being totally unaware of what they're pulling off. But people are becoming aware of it, or at least they're becoming aware of the effects of it, in some places more than others. But this goes into what we've been talking about over and over. This is a woman in Ontario, Canada, feeling the effects of this program. Let's watch.
I live in Ontario, Canada, and I just paid $20 for a tiny little bag of grapes. The other day, I paid $5 for 2 apples. 2 apples was $5 at the grocery store. I just saw a carton of eggs for $10. Like, what? I don't understand it. Like, I don't know what's happening with our country, but it is rapidly declining. The cost of living is astronomical, and the federal government is absolutely crushing the middle class. I don't know how anybody, if you're making less than $100,000 a year here, I don't know how you're doing it. I think $100,000 can allow you to maybe pay your insane rent and your basic bills and necessities, and then you have $0 left over at the end of the day to like do anything. So basically, if you live in Canada, you live to work, to pay bills, and pay taxes, and that's basically it. So yeah, I want to leave, and I don't know where to go, but someone...
She says, someone help me. That's the point. There's not going to be anywhere to flee to. This isn't happening on a nation-by-nation basis. It's happening on a worldwide basis. This is happening to anybody, no matter where you are, no matter who you are. They're using the economic system to destroy the middle class, destroy your savings so that you are incapable of building wealth, building intergenerational power that you can pass on. They'll all be consolidated into the world controllers, the less than 1%, and everybody else will be working feverishly just to keep their head above water. This is all a plan. This is all organized with the ultimate goal of keeping all of Earth in an open-air concentration camp for which there is no escape. People are realizing the problems. It's up to us to let them know how we got here and what's going to happen next.
The elite's final plan, in short. Read the elite's own documents and declarations. Reduce humanity to zero by military force and at most have 500,000 people worldwide in captivity for all future. Just read the Georgia Guidestones. The number varies, yes, most of the elite do not want any people left at all, but the 500 million that is mentioned on the Georgia Guidestones is far too high, possibly not to offend too many from within,